follow. The other hack I can give you is follow the casting directors on social media. Maybe we can tag them at the end of this video. I don't know, but just follow these guys. They're always announcing casting calls on their pages and
so
stuff.
you can apply.
Just apply. Go for an audition. Go for an audition for a small bit part. Once you're there, establish relationships with these people, and it's about consistency and discipline.
Hi, everyone. Welcome again to the Smarter Tomorrow podcast. In today's episode, we are delving into a topic that is very exciting: how to name and claim your Midas touch. Yes, it is all about how to identify your talent and eventually monetize it. And I'm joined by my amazing guest, Mr. Fidel Maithya. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
Very, very glad to have you on here. So maybe we can start with a bit of an introduction.
Yes.
Just tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
Oh my God, can I do the same intro you did?
Yes, you can.
I mean, I'm Fidel Maithya. I'm an actor. I've been in the entertainment industry for close to 20 years now. Naming and claiming my Midas touch, I think I still have room to do that.
Yeah.
And improve on what I have right now. But yeah, that's basically me. Been a radio producer, an actor. I don't know, social media influencer.
Yes, you are. I love talking about talent and monetizing talent because this is one of the things I feel like is a very, it seems like an easy thing to talk about or an easy thing to identify. I put talent on the same line with purpose. When someone asks you, what's your purpose? What are you here to do? What do you feel called to do? It seems like a very hard question to like answer or identify. So I don't know for you, what was it that at what point did you discover that you are into the arts, that you're good at it, and that you can actually monetize it?
I don't know about knowing that I was good at it or being that confident, but I think from high school, my mom, little known fact, was a video editor back in the day. So on
we are
weekends,
talking like, a very
80s, 90s,
yeah.
Gen X folks, guys. So, but she used to be a video editor. So every weekend, sometimes she was not at home, she was working. She'd take us with her to Jobo. And basically, I used to see what she used to do in terms of work. And also engrossed in whatever she was doing. I wanted to be her, wanted to do something that was close to what she was doing. So you meet the likes of, at that time, I remember, very young Catherine Kasavuli. I was very smitten.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You can imagine, but it was like you meet the likes of Catherine Kasavuli, Arno Fuller and those guys, and then you meet some of the actors at the time who were popular in terms of the shows like Vitimbi and all that. And I'm like, I can do this. I'm seated in front of a camera, and I'm like, let me practice with the auto cue. Let me see if I can do news presentation, for example. I remember one time I was in an episode of, if you guys remember, Kids Kini Macho. Yes.
You were actually.
I was one of the students or pupils because I was very young back then. It was way back. Don't worry about the time. But so that gave me the drive to get into the industry. So in high school, you have your counseling sessions with your teachers, and they ask you, what do you want to do once you finish high school? What course do you want to pursue? And I immediately pursued. I knew I wanted to be a journalist, so I did journalism. And I fell in love with the arts from then on.
From the word go.
From the word go, I was like, this is what I want to do. Hopefully it pays the bills. But I'm like, even if it doesn't, it's something that I'm passionate about.
Do you think exposure, like what you were exposed to, of course, thanks to like what your mom used to do for a living, played a big role in you being as affirmed to decide that that's the route you are going to take? Because you see, like, especially the arts, journalism, there are parents who don't even think that's a real career. So I don't know, did you face that in terms of like, you don't want to do something that, can...
Well, my grades didn't give me much of a choice. But that being said, but just growing up in our household, that made it easier for me to choose the career path I was on, because I wasn't given the pressure of you have to be a lawyer, you have to be a doctor. Because my dad, retired now, used to work as a clerk at the High Court. And also that exposed me to, because I used to go there and I'm looking at the lawyers, the judges. I'm like, yeah, one day maybe I want to be a lawyer, because I used to see them arguing their cases. And I'm like, this is interesting.
This is dope, yeah.
But at the same time, I think I was pulled to this other side of the arts, and being growing up with parents who are open-minded really helped me. It didn't give me the pressure to take a career that was,
Not something,
viable,
yeah.
as they would put it. But journalism, as we've seen over the years, has been viable. The arts have been viable in the recent past. So for me, just growing up in our household really helped. They gave me that exposure, and I didn't have the pressure to just not do something that I'm not passionate about.
Sure.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like for me, it took me forever to know
For
what
real?
my talent is.
Yeah.
Because my talent, or what at least I think it
Yeah.
is not your quintessential or like your typical talents like music, arts,
Yeah.
dancing, whatever. But I'm just a very confident speaker.
Yes.
And a good orator, and I kid you not, I can talk for 7 hours nonstop. Like I can just
testify, guys. You've been talking through.
I can yap.
Yeah.
Now you see, growing up,
Yeah.
that meant noisemakers list,
Oh, you're
Susan
there.
Apple. Alafu tu, like the Kierere child.
Yeah.
So you don't grow up thinking that one day this could be something that could get you, or rather could make you money in speaking engagements,
Yes.
trainings,
Yes.
content creation, because no one nurtures someone who, a
Yeah.
child who talks too much. In fact,
Yeah.
that's wrong. Like if you talk too much, if you're too loud,
Yeah.
if you're too expressive as well, it's almost like, man, we need to manage this
Need to
one.
manage this one before it gets out of hand.
Yeah, before it gets out of hand. I feel like it actually came to me way later.
Yeah.
After I've even, like, I'm done with school, graduated, Bachelor of Economics and Finance. I'm working in an investment company. I lose my job.
We're winning here.
And then at that point is when now you're trying to figure out
Yes.
what to do. And
Yeah.
then I realize, oh, I can yap a lot. But then I also have finance knowledge. So
Yeah.
why not start teaching and training and like doing stuff to do with money and teaching people?
Yeah.
You can have all this knowledge, but you don't know how to package it
Yeah.
or even like teach it to people. And it had to actually take someone from like my close circle
Yeah.
to tell me, hey, Suzy, vile unakwanga, the way you're confident, don't you think you can like teach or train?
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, no one actually ever told me
Yeah.
that this can be a talent.
Imagine.
So maybe for you, and I mean, how do you identify? I mean, if you are to talk to someone who's watching you right now, and even for you, because you see, again, as I told you, talent and purpose are very scary words. Yeah. So how do you actually identify? I'm really good at this.
Yeah.
Well, not of course, because some of us we struggled with imposter syndrome and feeling like, am I really good at it? But like, how do you identify that there's something here?
Yeah.
And enough for you to start like either fanning that flame or like now working to perfect it.
Yeah, believe it or not, folks, imposter syndrome is a domain actors live in every day. So that's a thing we deal with every day.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you say that in terms of nurturing talent and nurturing what you think you're good at. This is the thing. I come from a generation whereby no one taught us a lot of these things. So maybe you're discovering a few things along the way. So your parents give you the fundamentals in terms of if you get a nice job, whatever, save your money, do this, invest, build, whatever, so that you don't pay rent in this expensive Nairobi vase. But no one gives you the other advice in terms of how do you nurture your talent. If you're good at this, if you're an actor, for example, can you do something else so that you can generate income outside of your acting gigs? And no one taught us those things, especially from the generation I'm coming from. And that's the one thing I admire from this new generation, because they're very open-minded to just discover new things about themselves. And they're very confident in terms of the talent that they have. Most of us, there's a struggle here in terms of we claim to be the humble generation. And it can be it can be a handicap in a way. It can hold you back because you're thinking, let me not be too forward. But you need to push yourself out there. You need to identify what you're good at outside of what you're already good at. So in terms of being an actor, okay, Maybe I can endorse products. Maybe I can take what I'm aligned with in terms of my life and just make it an income generating thing in terms of if I'm pushing a product.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I think most people struggle with, whether they're young or old, because we are in this country at the moment, and the way things are going, people are in that race of, I want to just make money. But at the same time,
whatever makes it.
exactly.
Yeah.
At the same time, you have to identify, for example, products. If you're pushing a product, does this product fit into who I am
Is
as a
it in
person? It's in
alignment
alignment to,
with
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So that's another thing we keep learning. One thing also in terms of this profession,
Yeah.
in terms of acting and being in the arts, is, believe it or not, when there are new shows, when there are new films, we still audition. So
To date,
we
yeah.
audition.
There's no like Fidel is an OG.
There's
Like
some that call you
yeah, like
direct.
you definitely just put him in there. Of
Put him
course,
there. We're looking
yeah.
for this kind of guy.
Yeah.
But there's some you have to audition for, and the auditions are very good for practice and just to hone your skills, to sharpen those skills that you've
Yeah.
acquired over the years. So, in terms of identifying the talent, you already know. You already know how to be an actor. So the
Yeah.
rest is up to you in terms of perfecting what you, how good you can be, or how best you can be in terms of this industry, and not be satisfied.
Yeah.
It's so easy to just sit at home and say, I've made it, I've been on these shows. And some of my friends in the industry really diss me sometimes. They call me Mr. Showmax. I always seen you. You're like on 5 shows on
You're like
Showmax.
on 5 shows on
Yeah.
Showmax.
And I'm
I
like,
know you
no.
from Showmax and I love your shows.
Oh,
I
thank you
mean,
so much.
yeah.
Thank you. So for me, it's just not to be comfortable in whatever you've achieved. It's just to keep pushing and going forward.
Yeah. I think one of the other things that I've also learned is how you yesterday's gold does not work today.
Exactly.
You get.
Exactly.
So you might have done like this amazing thing, this amazing show, you got the glory yesterday.
Yes.
And I think the humbling thing about being a creative
Yeah.
is how yesterday's gone. You gleam in that glory for like 2 days, 3 days, and then now that doesn't cut it for today.
Exactly.
So you actually have to now kind of like, okay, yeah, I know I was a good actor in that show. I know that show did well, but like remembering that you have to actually keep sharpening, and as you said, keep showing up, and like don't just, because there are people who are like, they'll always just tell you about that one show that did so well, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah. For example, Selena is still on, I think.
Yeah.
And then I'm on Second Family. And then I did an show. I can't speak about it yet because it hasn't launched.
Yeah.
But so I had a colleague, I posted a picture from a set or something, and then I had a colleague just writing on the comments and saying, "Oh, booked and busy. You must." So I was like, you're giving guys the wrong impression, because maybe you did this show like 5 months
5 months
back. It hasn't
ago.
launched yet.
Yeah.
Guys already paid and the money is already over and everything. And then when people look at you from the outside, they think, oh man, you've got your stuff together. And you do. But at the same time, it's a very dicey situation, because by the time the show launches, maybe you're in between jobs.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't even have anything coming in at the same time. So it's a pretty tough balance, but keep pushing forward.
I love that you mentioned the way people think that we have it all together, which brings me to the topic of now, not just identifying the talent, but can we talk about the realities of monetizing this thing? And you see, for me, monetizing, I can't think about monetizing without thinking about sustainability. So I'd like to actually put it, not just this thing to give me money for one gig, but for me to monetize it in such a sustainable manner that I can finance my life. I'm a finance person, so definitely I have to think about financial goals like investing, saving for the future, getting out of debt, right? So, because I remember when I started my coaching practice in 2020, one of the things that most people don't know is that I had to coach for 6 months for free.
Oh, wow.
You know why? Because you can't just go to someone and tell them. And especially because in my nature of work is very sensitive. Yes, you have the papers, you have the certifications, you have the years of experience, but money is already such a sensitive topic.
Very.
So for me to convince you, Fidel, to open your balance sheets for me,
show me,
and I'm trying to tell you, Fidel, if you work with me, I can ensure that we've structured your investments well.
Yeah.
We've done a good long-term financial plan, etc. Do you know the first question someone will ask me? Where have you done this before?
Oh, yeah.
Like, do you have proof of concept?
Concept.
So you see, as a new like coach that was trying to come up, where was I going to get this proof of concept?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't talk about the free gigs you've had to do, the underpaid, things you've had to do.
Yes.
So I had to coach, first of all. Of course, it was needed even in my certification that you have to, first of all, coach people. Now, when I coach this, so first of all, even convincing someone, like, let me coach you. And I'm like, no, you're not going to pay anything. First of all, that person is like, so are you giving me value or not? So so I had to actually get like family, friends, someone who I know is struggling with debt, someone who I know wants to start like their financial journey, whatnot. So that, like, because for me as a coach, it was very important that that proof of concept is there, that I've actually worked with this person ABC, and these are the results, I've gotten them. And then for these people now to be willing to share testimonials and say, yeah, I actually worked with her and she's good.
At her job.
You get. So that was a whole 6 months. So my bills.
Can't you extend it?
My bills.
Because I might give you a call.
Don't worry. We have friends and family discounts.
Okay.
So you see, my bills didn't care. For those 6 months, how was I paying bills? I was doing freelancing work on Upwork, writing gigs and all of that. So at night you're busy, trying to hand in papers. And then so writer by night, and then during the day you're building this coaching business that you really hope will become your legacy. You understand? So that was my experience. So for you, at what point, like, how easy or hard was it for you to like get to a point where now you've monetized this thing and it's starting to look like this is sustainable income? If I do well, if I
I mean, every Kenyan actor has 2 or 3 jobs. That's just the reality of it. For me, I was lucky enough in terms of with my journalism and everything. I was a radio producer for like 15 years. So I was doing this, acting on the side as well. I was doing the radio producing and acting on the side. And then I decided to just go full on and take it on. And yes, there are lean moments and there are very tough moments, and where you question yourself, you're like, does this profession really pay? And the same thing you've mentioned in terms of just that proof of concept. You take jobs that pay you peanuts by the but because maybe it's you believe in the script. First of all, you believe in the script. The director, maybe it's somebody you've worked with before or somebody you've always wanted to work with. So you do that. And some of these productions also, let's not get it twisted. It's easy to blame the productions. Some of them don't have the budgets we think they do, but they make the best out of it. And you're thinking, let me just do it instead of staying at home and complaining, saying, it could get better, of course, and have remuneration whereby you can just say, for 1 year, after doing this project, I can sit at home and just chill and focus on other things. But interesting that you've said the same thing about you in terms of you doing your other gigs. I've done the same thing. I still produce for people on the side in terms of radio production. I specialized in creating promos, imaging, what we call imaging in radio in terms of station idents. So that's a thing that I'm still passionate about. So if somebody comes to me and says, I want to do this, like how much the budget and everything. So I've had sleepless nights sometimes. Those ones you're editing through the night, and then in the morning your call time is 6 a.m. You're on set and stuff like that. So that has sort of kept me going. And also we're in a profession whereby you're lucky. So today you might be doing a Hollywood production that is shooting in Kenya, and the money is really good, and that money can push you
sustain you for some months.
For some months. So that's the other thing about this profession. And today you might be a king, tomorrow you might be a pauper. But that's a fun aspect of it.
And I think I think we really need to talk about the reality of anyone who's a freelancer, self-employed. Like, as long as you do not have like a fixed monthly salary, is it then safe to say that for creatives and people in music and art, then you really have to be smart with these two things: money management, and we struggle with that because you tend to get windfalls, lump sum, and then you stay another like 3 months without something. So you must get good at money management. But then something else I'm also picking up, just even from what you and I are sharing right now, is diversifying your sources of income.
You have
like
to.
one source of income is too close to none.
Yeah, one source of income is almost death, especially in this country and in this economy that we live in. Again, in terms of money management, the hardest thing I think in terms of money management as a creative is the fact that you also have to invest in yourself. You invest in your craft. So, for example, I have to maybe buy a new machine, buy software and stuff like that.
Whatever.
So you're balancing. You have rent to pay, you have food to buy, stuff like that. So it's pretty difficult. But when you're lucky and things are really working, you make the best out of it. But the reality is, it's pretty hard. Anyone trying to get into this creative space. But just persevere. I mean, you read stories, and I know this is apples and oranges, but you read stories like The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who left his hometown, went to Hollywood to pursue a career in movies. And the only thing he had in his pocket was $200. That's maybe 20K. Okay, the exchange rate now it could be 40K.
Yeah, it could be 40K. Welcome to Nairobi.
But you see, that's the only money you have. So you have to pay rent, you have to buy food, you have to take headshots so that you go when you're going for auditions and stuff like that. And I think if you believe in yourself that much, things just work out.
I love that you've mentioned believe in yourself, and I want to put you on the spot for a minute.
Yes.
Let me tell you, I have a very close personal friend of mine that whose work I've read and I believe is an amazing script writer.
Okay.
Getting into any of the doors in this Nairobi or in this country to even just get someone to read what you've done, the way you're like, I'm talented in this. So this person has identified their talent. They're doing something about it. Like he's a very good script writer, but like I know from his experience, he has not had any success whatsoever in getting anyone to give him a chance, right? So obviously in every industry there's barriers to entry, and I know penetrating the creative space, the art space, the acting, music. Can we tell each other the truth? Do I have to know someone? How do you realistically speak? Because he actually told me that someone told him, you know what you have to do? You have to engage these production houses like as an editor, cameraman, something. Like you have to first of all be someone in the inside, and then now one day maybe you can tell your boss, hey, mazee nimeandika a script. Well, can you review? Talk to someone who's watching you right now and truly they're passionate. Let's say like they have this skill or talent they've identified in the creative space, in arts and music or whatever. They even have maybe like a product that may or may not be fully complete, but it's there. How do you get in? How do you penetrate this creative? Like if I want to be on Showmax co-acting with you, what do I have to do?
We go through the same thing in terms of, maybe we might have a name, but we go through the same thing. I'll give you an example. The show we shot maybe 2 months back. That's going to air this year. I went for the auditions for the same show. I went for the auditions and we were like 1,000 actors, I think, at the very minimum at Kenya Film Studios. So for me, it's hard work, and listen, every country, every region, people know each other. People have to. So you see a familiar face, you're like, oh, I've seen your work somewhere.
I know you.
Maybe if I take a chance with you, I'm guaranteed to have success in my projects. So there's that. Of course there is. I'll be realistic about that. But at the same time, there's instances whereby you can just walk into a production company, say, I have a script, and you find somebody in a magnanimous spirit and say, you know what, let me read this script. And then I'm like, oh, I love this script. I call this guy up. And that's how you get started. But he's not wrong in terms of, okay, you have to be an editor. There's some people I know who've transitioned from being an assistant director into being in front of the screen of the camera. So that happens. And there are people who just stay busy and get income by doing these other jobs because they're good at it. You find an actor who's very good at ADing, so why not when there's dull moments in terms of your career. So I feel like, yeah, if it can give me the script, I can present it to someone. That can happen as well. It is a tough industry to crack, but once you're in, I mean,
so what are some of the hacks? Is it so would, like, for example, one of the things that I also know, like when I also started, I had this very big dreams. Like now I've been able to work with corporates, train high net worth individuals, do staff trainings and all that. But of course, when I was starting out, I mean, again, we don't know who you are. Let's start there. So no matter how many proposals or pitches I sent, I guess the fact that no one knows you, or this is the first time I'm hearing of you, then I mean, you don't get the job. So now when I started like building my platform, like on Instagram, and then my financial literacy YouTube channel, I'm no longer going to look for the job. It's someone forwards the video and they're like, oh, we want this lady to come train our staff on retirement, or we want. So is there things that someone can do to just make yourself like visible, or like to build, how do you, in your own way, even if no one knows you yet, how do you build at least a name or a brand for yourself that can make someone be like, oh, have you seen this? I think we need to bring this person in.
I mean, we're in the age of social media, right? So TikTok, I believe, for example, right now, has they're encouraging guys to make long form videos and stuff like that. You have your YouTubes. So for an actor, for example, if you're coming up, you can do monologues, you can do a self tape, and just put it out there every week. Put it out there. I know some of my colleagues I've worked with have gotten into the industry like that because they had self tapes. A casting agent watched one of the tapes and was like, "Oh, interesting! This person can do this job." But at the same time, also follow. The other hack I can give you is follow the casting directors on social media. Maybe we can tag them at the end of this video. I don't know, but just follow these guys. They're always announcing casting calls on their pages and
so
stuff.
You can apply.
Just apply. Go for an audition. Go for an audition for a small bit part. Once you're there, establish relationships with these people, and it's about consistency and discipline. And especially if someone just sees you and likes your dedication and discipline, most likely than not, you'll be called more than another person who has maybe more talent than you have.
Maybe even more talent, because you're more consistent.
And you're not going to give them a hard time when it comes to work. So
then teachability, my God, like I feel like, as you said, when you mentioned humility, why I loved is because I feel like there's room for it, but in different, like it's a fine balance, because you also can't be so humble that you're not putting yourself out there, but here you can't come with kiburi. Like you have to be teachable, you have to be trainable, you have to be able to work with other people and be a team player. And I hear you. Now, there's something that I know can be very hard for creatives and people in this space. And I feel like that is just keeping up with, like, remaining motivated in your pursuit of, I don't know, like, of course you have, and I'm going to ask you towards the end where you see yourself maybe in the next 10 years, right? What keeps you motivated? Because in between shows that may or may not cast you, financial, of course, constraints, having to do 3 other jobs just to put a roof over your head and all of that. What has kept you motivated over the years to, like, not just wake up one day and be like, you know what? Niandikeni kazi.
I just need a 9 to 5.
I just need a 9 to 5 because so many people actually give up. Like there are people who are in 8 to 5s or 9 to 5s that they absolutely hate, but they will stay because of that, like, consistency in income, right? So how do I, as a creative, as someone who has a dream, who has this, I have this vision and I know that I can execute it, but my God, like the world just keeps
Pounding
unakama
you,
up
right?
kidogo. You come up a bit and like this, it's so hard to stay motivated. So, and especially because you've been in the industry 20 years. What has kept you in this industry?
20.
Surely, are you a masochist? Do you like pain?
I think I do. I enjoy the pain. But what keeps me motivated? I think hunger. You have to be hungry. No, but seriously, I mean, I think one of the ways to keep yourself motivated as a creative is always learning new skills. in the industry. So, for example, when I started the acting thing, there's no social media per se. There's no social media presence. At best, it was Facebook, right? But you keep going, you see what people are creating in terms of TikTok, Instagram Reels, and all that stuff. And then you're looking at these videos. I remember one day I saw a video by Joy Candy. And I'm like, why? How did she do this?
How did you even do this?
Yeah. So, and
her editing is
on point, right?
Yeah, like it's out of this world.
And then I think I met her. I think we're doing a Jack Daniels thing. And then
we are sorry.
with Jay take a pic.
We are
No.
sorry.
It was such a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they were doing interviews with us. Some of the candidates wanted to be the brand ambassadors for Jack Daniels. Her and Jay take a pic. And I think I asked her, how do you guys do this? Just, I learned this skill.
Yeah.
Wanted to do my own edits because at the end of the day, the reality is me as Fidel, if I want to push my videos, I can't afford to be paying someone consistently to
do the shooting, editing, all of that.
At some point, you have to do it yourself.
Learn how to do it yourself. Yeah.
So once I learned to do some of these skills and stuff, it keeps me motivated. Every time I get an idea, I'll wake up at 3 in the morning and I'll be like, let me edit. So it keeps me still in the game because I'm not forgetting my main gig, but at the same time, I'm learning what it takes for my main gig to work.
Yeah.
Part of it is editing, part of it is production. So once I learn those things, it keeps me motivated every day.
Yeah.
The problem with I think a lot of people, and you can't really blame them, is they feel like some of these skills to acquire it's a difficult thing, and it's not. We're living in an era whereby you'll open a YouTube account and you'll find a tutorial.
Listen, the things I have learned from the University of YouTube.
Right?
Oh my goodness. Everything I know, University of YouTube.
So I watch that and I get inspired by other people as well. I'll follow all these top actors. I'll follow all these actors as well. You don't have to be at the top tier of your profession, but I'll follow and see what interesting things you're doing. That keeps me motivated. And I'm a guy who doesn't like to give up or quit.
Yeah. Earlier on, we were having a conversation between like the difference in our like Kenyan entertainment space and like these people we adore, like in the Western countries and all of that. Yeah. Now, one of the things that I know for sure is that with our generation, we really have to keep up with like learning new skills, upskilling, even getting demand-driven skills in any industry you are. So you have to ask yourself, okay, so what's the market demanding? How are things changing and shifting? And how can I now strategically position myself so that like I'm not left behind? Like I'm, I've been replaced by AI,
Yes, exactly.
So in the creative space, in arts, in acting, what can you tell people about in terms of like what are some of the skills that you're now seeing are very important to us getting, like how can we compete globally? Because then again, I mean, I look at how some actors and some creatives like in foreign nations, right? How well they're compensated, right? And like we've even had Kenyan actors break through, like the likes of Lupita Nyong'o and Eddie Gadegi and all that. Now we see them there, right? Are there things that is there something we are not doing, or what can we do in terms of like now honing in this skill, but then also to a point that we can start competing even globally?
So it's in two parts. I think one has to do with us as creatives. The other is the audience. The audience need to really consume what we produce. The audience need to avoid the temptation of, free streaming and getting, hey, bro, so you hook me up with that link. I get
Why
that.
are you attacking us?
No, I'm not even attacking.
Economy.
Because let me tell you.
Showmax tukiwa watatu, it's 760 divided by 3.
By 3. It's I get it, because even the way the dollar is behaving with the Kenyan shilling right now, I'm really considering what I'm subscribing to.
Sure.
But at the same time, if we consume what we have, look at Nigeria, look at South Africa. Because those guys
those
now,
people are real celebrities in their own country.
People are making movies and not necessarily selling them to the streamers.
Yeah.
Making movies for them, they get a budget, they work on the movie, and they put it out in a movie theater. And guys go watch, and they now it's up to the streamers looking for them. But as we make movies for the streamers,
And then
which
you
is a good
try
thing, but
to,
we don't really
yeah.
have what do you call it, bargaining power and stuff like that. But that being said, the streamers are here to stay. And once they're here to stay, the only way we can expose our talent is by consuming it the right way, paying the streamers. I mean, these things are affordable now. You know, from Netflix to Showmax to Amazon Prime.
Everything is under 1,000.
Under 1,000 bob. You
For
can
the
just
bare minimum package.
collude with whoever you're living with. You know, let's get the subscription. Once you consume, our guys get more exposed. You see, someone like Lupita.
So us watching more of Kenyan content is actually affecting the actors' lives, whatever, positively.
Because now there's more budget to, you know, we had the story the other day of Amazon Prime sort of pulling their budget in terms of African productions. They're spending it more on European productions. And you've noticed a trend. People are falling in love with European content. It's not as if the African story has been told to in its entirety.
That's true.
Yeah,
we've not even scratched the surface.
So I think if we have our African stories out there, that's when our talent is exposed. If our talent is exposed, we'll have more Edgar Degis, more Lupita Nyong'os. And I mean, sky's the limit.
Also in this day and age, honestly, like it's very. I think I'm loving like when you see people build entire careers out of something that they're so passionate about. The amount of money that you would earn when you get to Hollywood level is mind-boggling.
It's I don't think even Kenyans are prepared for it.
But then it's so hard to now imagine us there. Well, not whether it's Hollywood or our own sort of Hollywood, but like how, you know, maximizing that income, because then again, a lot of us who are creatives, but you know,
doing something
other
else.
things, because the income is not as sustainable. So I think so what you've said is we need to watch the content and engage more. What else can be done?
Just practicing, taking acting lessons. You see, people will see people like us and say, "Oh, you guys don't even have acting classes anymore." Our guys still, we still do. If you get some bit of money, put it on the side, get into a class, buy a master class from someone, whatever. Do the needful. Be as much as you're a Kenyan actor, as much as you're a Ugandan actor, South African actor, try also to be universal. That's also, it really helps. We've seen a lot of South Africans in American productions, seen a lot of Nigerians in American productions as well. And that's not to say that even in the States, those guys don't suffer. This profession is really crazy.
The whole of last year, those people, like towards the end of last year,
they
were on a strike.
Some of them were going back to menial jobs here and there.
Is it unfair that, or rather, it's honestly so cynical that when I read that news and I was just seeing them on strike, I was like, kumbe si Kenya peke yake. Not that I was happy, but I was like, I felt a bit affirmed in the sense that I feel like sometimes we look at those countries and we're like, everything is just
perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. But like these people were on strike and they were not, you know, taking jobs because the pay is horrible, and all that. So I guess it's just a matter of like, and this is something I've also learned. Sometimes I feel like when you're so focused, and even as creatives, comparison really is one of the worst things ever, because when you're so focused on, you know, but our Kenyan creative space is not like this, but we don't make enough money in music, but we don't. So you'll never actually focus on how you can monetize this thing, because are there people who have sustainably monetized it?
I mean, Sauti Soul, man. Those guys started from Alliance Francaise. We used to watch their free shows and stuff. Look at them now. Look at BN and stuff like that. If you're ever thinking of going the other way, 9 to 5, or being negative, just look at guys like those ones. Look at Raymond Ofula, who's in his 70s and doing good work, doing Hollywood stuff. Never give up. I mean, maybe it's easy to say. Someone will look at me and say it's easy for you to say that from where you're seated. But to be honest, that would be your first step to losing if you even entertain that thought. Because life, I read it somewhere and it was so interesting. we have no right to feel like we should be happy all the time.
That's true.
We want that joy, we want everything, but life is not, a bed of roses every day. So take the good with the bad, and the bad with the good, whatever.
Exactly.
And just make the best out of it.
And make do.
Yeah,
My
make do.
God, this has been so amazing. I've learned so much. I feel like one of my takeaways, or one of the, I mean, I've even just been thinking about it as you were speaking, that you really like that investing in your craft and investing in yourself.
Yeah.
I've never done anything to invest in my skills, my craft. I've done public speaking classes. As much as I always knew I'm a good speaker, when I went to a public speaking class is when I realized, hey, there's still so much that can be done. So so never apprehending, like never get into that place where you feel mi nimefika now, I know it all. And I've never done any personal investment into my skill, talent, or expertise that I look back on and I'm like, nah, that was useless. It all just adds up to kind of like, make you this great person who, like Fidel.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Fine.
Not there yet.
Thank you so much for showing up. What are you leaving us with as a parting shot?
As a parting shot? I'm always scared of these things.
You're like, I told you I will. In fact, I wanted to know before you even give us your parting shot. In the next 5 to 10 years,
5 to 10 years,
what do we expect from you? And then maybe we can wrap up with your parting shot.
From Showmax to HBO.
Yes,
and
please.
from HBO to movie screens in the States. I mean, I'm watching shows where Eddie Gadegi is killing it.
I love that guy. He's awesome.
He's such a hard work. The thing people forget. There's a lot of hard work in
that goes into it.
It's just not luck. Okay, there's a bit of luck, but it's not just luck that you see on the screen. It's just a lot of hard work. So for me, I just look forward to being at the very best. If you're a football player, of course, you want to be in the very best of leagues. Serie A, English Premier League, what have you. If you're a basketball player in the NBA, of course, with the actors, you just want to be the very best in Hollywood. So for me, sky's the limit. No, sky's not even the limit. Just do you. Be you. Be confident. Be arrogantly confident in your skills. Go for it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't listen to the naysayers, because naysayers, I think for me, because I'm also from a sporting background, that used to drive me a lot. So if you say I can't do this stuff, in fact, I will do it. I will definitely do it. So that's what
that's amazing. Thank you so much, guys. As you have heard, do not listen to the naysayers. In fact, I'm such a firm believer that naysayers are the ones who, like, those guys who sit on the pews watching the actual person who's doing the thing. So while you're busy, they could never be the ones doing it, because I've also discovered that the people who are doing the thing have no time to criticize anyone. So guys, name and claim your Midas touch. I've been your host, Susan Wanjiku. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you've picked up something that you can use, or something that can motivate you to keep going hard at that talent, at that skill. And remember, we've said, guys, eventually it's gonna work. It's gonna work out with consistency, with hard work, and of course with you investing in that skill and in that talent. So thank you so much for joining us. We will see you on the next episode of the Smarter Tomorrow podcast.